Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Christopher Donald and I'm going to be doing a demo today on a technique called free draping. It's one of my favorites. This is one of the best ways of doing hand-built dishes like serving dishes, bowls, plates, because it involves using kind of anything as a mold. And you can also use ones that you create out of cardboard or plywood. Both of these forms here are free draping forms. So it's basically just the outline of just the perimeter of what shape you want to make. And so you could use something like that. You can use a Tupperware container. It's frankly, I mean, a lot of times people kind of go to making round ones immediately, but I like this best for doing shapes that aren't round. But, mileage may vary. Totally up to you. You can absolutely use it for anything round as well. But we're going to do a couple of non-round forms today just to kind of show this technique off. So let's go ahead and do, mess around with this one, the kind of squared, elongated form. First thing that I want to do is wedge my clay. Got some that I used as scrap from another project here. I'll go ahead and wedge that up real good. And for hand building, I'm going to be doing ram's head wedging. And then when I'm done wedging, I'm going to compress this on end like this. And I know what general shape I'm going to go for here. So early on, I'm going to start making it a bit more elongated. So I'm not rolling out a circle to do a rectangle. You want to use your hand or a cloth-covered mallet for that kind of work. You don't want to use your rolling pin. Don't use this as a mallet. Once I've got it to about a ½ an inch, or actually more like 3/4 to an inch, I can start rolling it out with the rolling pin. And for most slab-built things, you really don't want to go hyper thin. And free draping would be in that same category. I would say 1/4 inch is going to be the thinnest you're ever going to want to do. But again, mileage may vary. It might be the thing you decide to get really good at making super thin ones. And more power to you. Once I've got it rolled out, I'm going to compress the surface. The goal is compression. The side effect is smoothing. I want the clay nice and compressed. When I was rolling it out, I wanted to roll it from different directions. When I compress it with the metal rib, I want to smooth it and rib it and compress it from different directions. Once I've got that all on there, or all compressed, I'm going to use a piece of thin plastic and put this on the slab and then spread it out nice and evenly. Blow on it, start in the middle, and push the plastic out so you don't get too many air bubbles. The clay slab is going to stick to that plastic, and that's going to act as kind of a spine. And a couple of different ways that I've done this. I usually have little square blocks of wood that I put underneath here in order to lift this up off of the ground a little bit. I left those at the studio, so we're just going to ad lib with a couple of chunks of clay. That'll work just fine. All right, so let's make 4 blocks of clay here. What I like doing too is making it so that my wooden blocks have a piece of Velcro on them, and then you can put 4 tabs of Velcro on your wooden forms, and then you can just Velcro the legs to them as well. It's kind of fun. Okay, so I just want to lift this up off the tabletop a little bit, at least the depth of how deep I want my container to be. Like I said, no problem using clay lumps. I'll just kind of squish these down so that they're nice and even. There we go. So now I have my form. I have my clay already on a piece of plastic, and you're going to put the plastic touching the surface of the thing that you're using as the mold. This is your resist. So whenever you're casting, the trick is that you always have to have some way of releasing the clay from what you're shaping the clay on. And in this case, it's this plastic. And the plastic is also acting as support, as like a spine for the clay. So as I start pushing the clay into my shape, the plastic is only going to let me go so far, and it's not going to let me tear the clay. I can lift up the edges and kind of push in if they start gripping. And I'm going to start by just kind of getting the general thickness pushed in. And then I like to use a soft rubber rib, and I'll kind of work my way around. And the soft is nice because it's almost like using the palm of my hand or my own fingers, and it doesn't want to dig in as bad as a stiffer rib. And I'm kind of trying to just compress this new shape into the clay, but doing it from the inside. And we can get this all nice and compressed in here. And as I'm compressing it, I'm stretching it out, and I'm getting it to take on the final depth and the final contour that I want. I'm trying to think about making these inside curves even. Okay. There we go. Take your time with it. Not in a rush. This is what gives it all of its shape. There we go. All right. Now, a couple of fun things here. One is that you can use this surface as a way of making a rim for this. You don't have to just trim everything off. Instead, you could, well, let's get super funky. Why not? You can use the extra clay to your advantage and do some things with the rim that might be really difficult to do if it wasn't being supported. So it's being supported by this wooden structure underneath here. So I can come and cut a shape out of the rim, like that. There we go. And do the same thing over on this side. See how good I am at doing it upside down? That's what you get for coming up with such a clever idea there. Do it upside down now, Mr. Smart Guy. Go. Always torn between showing you the complete idea and feeling bad about making you watch the complete idea being done in front of you. But I think you're paying for the idea, so I'll show you the whole thing. Not that you're paying. All right, there we go. Now, I could also leave this and do this part a little bit later. It can stay in this mold, honestly, until it's bone dry. I mean, I guess if you wanted to. Usually you're not going to keep it in here that long, but the nice thing about drape molds, where you're going to the inside of your form, is that they allow the clay to shrink inward as it shrinks. So I don't have to worry about it getting bound up. As the clay shrinks 9%, it's just going to release itself and just come off of the mold. Unlike a hump mold, where on a hump mold, it's over the top of it on the outside, and as it shrinks, it constricts the mold. It's going to squeeze it. This way, it's all just nice and supported, and I can pop this off of here almost more or less immediately. Let me grab a board for that. Here we go. So I should put a piece of paper on this as well. Put a piece of paper on it. Any scrap junk mail you got laying around? All right, so I'm going to put a piece of paper on there, and then my board. I'm going to hold the board and the free draping board that's underneath, so I can flip them both together. My stands, those out of the way. Now the cool thing about this is that I've compressed this enough that I can go ahead and pull the plastic off of it, and it can support itself. So I can keep using this same mold, and I can pop out 10 of these. And now I can leave it so it can dry like this. And once this has dried and set up, like mid to late leather hard, you have to be able to push on it without it kind of compressing. Then I can add an added foot to it. I'm actually going to have a separate video on doing added feet for hand building, but I will probably be using this little guy as part of that, as well as may have another form that I'm going to do that with. So let me show you how that would look if you weren't using one of these shapes and you were just using, like, say, the Tupperware container. Let's do another one real quick. I'm going to keep my little stands here. A little bit of extra clay added to my scrap there. That should be more than enough for the Tupperware. Ram's head wedging it. Especially if there's a lot of scrap clay in there, you want to wedge it pretty good. Compress it really good. Compress it on end. Use my fist. Get this to like 3/4 of an inch or an inch before I start rolling it out. Roll it out with my rolling pin. No matter how big your work surface, you're always like, I wish I had a bigger table. I keep flipping it, rotating it, compressing it from different directions. It's really important. All right, once I'm sure I've got enough, and by enough, you want at least a 1/2 inch overlap. You want at least a 1/2 inch of clay that can support itself in this form. You don't want it to be like right up to the very edge, so then it's going to just slide in. You got to have a little bit of waste clay, even if you're not going to use that clay later as part of the lip, and you're just going to trim it flush. You need it in order to support its weight hanging down into that form. So it does have kind of a structural use. Take my plastic and reuse it from the last time if I want. All right, carefully spread it out. Start from the inside, move my way out. Oh, so I've got a little splitch of clay on it already. Ah, well. Even the Mona Lisa has flaws. All right, now, the thing about this one is I don't even need my little blocks here. Those aren't necessary because it's got its own depth to it. One thing I love using for this is like trash cans, like really interestingly shaped trash cans. They're my favorite ones to use for free draping. I make these big oblong platters, and they're just done in rectangular trash cans. Everyone's like, oh, it's such a great form. Yeah, it's a trash can. They were throwing them out at a place I was working at one point, and I was like, can I have one of those? So lifting up the edge a bit as I push, kind of get it pushed in there, and get a little bit of depth. Now this is not a substitute technique for like straight up vertical slab building. You can only go so far. The bigger it is, the deeper you can make it, but it's a proportionate thing. They don't love being pushed past a certain point, and you'll feel it. It'll kind of just start fighting you as far as wanting to get any deeper. So this really is for serving dishes, for bowls, for eating out of kinds of vessels, not You're not going to be making vases like this. Just not going to lend itself to it. All right, now for this one, I'm not going to use the extra. So I'll go ahead and trim some of this off while I've got it. I'll just leave enough that it can support itself. It doesn't fall into the shape. And the rest of this, I'm going to cut it off, ball it up so I can use the clay again immediately. No. Hi, sorry for the abrupt cut there. My phone ran out of space just at the end of our video. We had like 1 minute left. So this is what the piece looks like after I've taken it out of the mold, which was just my Tupperware container, and I peeled the plastic off of the back of it. And so you can see the bumps and the ridges that were left from the stamping, which I think is just a really cool extra kind of element to stamping on something when it's supported in such a soft way. This is actually, since the 1 second ago in the video that I was showing you this is actually dried now to leather hard. And I'm going to be doing a separate video on adding feet and kind of finishing these sorts of forms up. So I have this one and another one that I'd like to show kind of at the same time. So thanks for joining me. Remember to subscribe to my channel if you want alerts for new videos. A lot more new stuff coming out. And sorry for the strange little cut here at the end. I'll see you back here soon. Bye.